In a land where the sun kissed the earth with its golden rays, there was a village called Moyo, nestled between green hills and rivers that whispered ancient songs. The people of Moyo were kind and hardworking, but they were also known for their endless squabbles over small things: who had the largest goat, whose crops were greener, and who could tell the biggest tales at the evening fires. In this village lived a wise old woman named Nanetebu. Her back was bent like a river reed, and her hair was as white as the clouds. Nanetebu didn't have much. She lived in a small hut with a straw roof and walls patched with clay. But her eyes sparkled with a light that even the village children could see, and they loved to sit around her to hear her stories. One day, the village faced a problem. The river that had always given them water began to dry up, and the rains that once fed their crops were late. The goats bleated with thirst, and the people began to bicker even more, blaming one another for their bad luck. "It's because you were greedy with your harvest," one shouted. "No, it's because you mocked the spirits with your boasting," another accused. The noise of their arguments rose like smoke into the sky. Nanetebu watched this with sad eyes. She knew that something had to be done before the village tore itself apart. So, one evening, she called the villagers to gather under the great Baobab tree that stood in the center of Moyo. The tree was ancient, with roots that dug deep into the earth and branches that reached for the sky like the arms of a giant. "My children," Nanetebu said, her voice strong despite her years, "I have a story that may bring you wisdom." The villagers quieted, for they knew Nanetebu's stories were not just tales, they were lessons wrapped in words. Long ago, she began, when the earth was young and the animals spoke the language of men, there was a lion named Simbaku, the strongest and most feared in the forest. But Simbaku was proud and selfish. He would roar so loudly that the other animals would shiver and bow before him, whether they wanted to or not. One day, the great drought came. The rivers ran dry, the trees lost their leaves, and the animals grew thin with hunger. Yet Simbaku, in his pride, refused to share the water he had found hidden in a deep cave. He guarded it jealously, snarling at anyone who dared come near. Nayoka*, the old snake, saw this and whispered to the other animals, "Why do you allow one to keep what is meant for all? If we do not find a way to share, we will all perish, even Simbaku himself." But the animals were too afraid of Simbaku's powerful claws and teeth. Then a small, brown hare named Kechesh, who was as quick with his wits as he was with his feet, spoke up. "I may be small," he said, "but I have an idea." The other animals laughed, for what could a tiny hare do against the mighty lion? But Nayoka said, "Listen to him. Sometimes the smallest among us holds the greatest wisdom." Kechesh waited until the sun set and the moon rose high in the sky. He crept to the entrance of Simbaku's cave and called out in a voice as sweet as a flute, "Oh, great Simbaku! Have you heard? The sky spirits are angry, and they plan to take away the last of the water." Simbaku, his eyes wide with pride and fear, leapt to the entrance of the cave. "What do you mean, little hare?" he roared. "It is true," Kechesh said, pretending to tremble. "They said only the one who shares the water with all will be spared. Otherwise, even you, O mighty Simbaku, will find your tongue dry and your heart heavy." Simbaku hesitated. The idea of losing the precious water gnawed at him. So, with a growl, he stepped aside. "Let them drink, but only a little," he barked. One by one, the animals came. They drank with joy and gratitude, and their songs of thanks rose into the night sky. And a miracle happened: the clouds began to gather, thick and dark. Soon, rain poured from the heavens, filling the rivers and soaking the earth until it was rich and brown again. Simbaku, seeing the happiness around him, felt something strange inside, something warm and light. It was the first time he understood the power of giving. And from that day, the forest grew green not just from the rain, but from the kindness that flowed through its heart. Nana Tabu looked at the villagers with eyes that seemed to pierce through their worries. My children, she said, the river that gives life is not just water, it is kindness, it is sharing. Hold it back, and we all suffer. Let it flow, and we all thrive. The villagers sat in silence. One by one, they reached out to one another, apologies spilling from their lips. And before long, laughter and songs once again echoed through the village of Moyo. From that day on, the people of Moyo learned that to keep their village strong, they must share both their burdens and their blessings. And even as years passed and the rain sometimes came late, they always remembered Nana Tabu's story, for it taught them that kindness was the strongest river of all. The moral of the story: when we share, we do not just fill others' needs, we fill our own hearts, and that is what truly keeps a community alive.